Hey guys, so yesterday I published my top 10 units in Dragon Ball Legends video, and in this video we're going to be going through some of the comments and the responses that I received on that video, and I'm going to be sort of talking and responding to the comments that people have left for me on the video. This is in no way, shape, or form me saying like, oh my god, you're so stupid for saying this. Like this is just me trying to be more interactive with my audience, and that's sort of a goal that I've made for myself. That I want to do more interactive content moving forward. I started the Twitter series where I'm going to be going through and reviewing viewers' fights and matches in Dragon Ball Legends. I'm doing the How to Use series. I just think it's more useful, more instructional content to get people more on the same page, right? And I think this kind of content will involve you guys more than me just uploading, showcase after showcase after showcase. It gets the community more involved with my videos, and that's really the goal that I want to set for myself moving forward here. So we're gonna go through some of these replies here, and by the way, I am blink leveling and Dokkan at the same time. I'm trying to get this grade 8 Vegeta done. It's taking forever. So if I look down on my phone, that's what I'm doing. But pretty much, again, I'm not going to be like, oh my god, like how could you make such a stupid comment? I'm just going to sort of read through these, and I'll give my thoughts and opinions on the replies here. And you guys can, down below, leave some comments that you think are appropriate for this video. Do you want to see more of this style of content? Do you not really care for this style of content? Let me know, because I'm interested genuinely. Alright, so let's go ahead and start here. So we have the first comment. Let me make it a little bigger so that it's easier for you guys to see. I remember looking at Vegito's kit and using him for the... I'm sorting by top comments, by the way, just the comments that people are more likely to look at here. I remember looking at Vegito's kit and using him for the first time and thinking he was solid but not broken like the recent LFs and Ultra Super Gogeta. But the more I use him, the more incredible he seems. I throw him on leader on LOE and due to the support and the revival it has. Also pairing him with Whis is a good setup on God Key since he gets the extra green and a solid support as well. Yeah. I mean, Vegito's a very versatile character. I would say that Vegito is definitely one of the more versatile units in the game, mainly because of the fact of how tanky he is and his ability to have endurance, and because of the support that he gives the team in the form of the debuffs from the Strike and Blast cards. I think all around just an insane character. So you can really put him on the leader side of any team you want. He works well with LOE. I think he works well with Whis as well. His green card I think is very, very good. So definitely not a comment I really have anything to say else about here. Tier list has characters who are very close in terms of damage. I don't think the gap is as wide as it was with the androids and their PvP boost. I agree. And people people are making fun of him in the comments like, well, like, that's so obvious. I actually would say it's not as obvious, because back when the androids were still in their boost and you really didn't have like all these anniversary characters, like we had UI Goku, but we didn't have Dragon Fist, we didn't have Tapion, we didn't have Super Vegito. We didn't even have the Zenkai Blue Vegito yet. So I think back in that era, it was just way, way more obvious that the androids were just head and shoulders above everything in the game, and it was just like not even close. I would say that once they've fallen out of their PvP boost, which they have at this point, in combination with all the ridiculously powerful units we've gotten as part of the anniversary, it's definitely a bit more close than it was at that point. So that, I agree with that. All right, so we have a timestamp reference here. 2258, thank you for mentioning his defenses. I assume he's talking about Red LFUI Goku. Way too many people are saying he's the usual glass cannon. Yeah, so he's talking about Red. He's talking about, because I mentioned in the video that one of the things that makes LF Red UI Goku so good was the fact that not only does he have the vanishing unique gauge, or not vanishing, dodging unique gauge, but he also has really solid defenses on top of the 65% reduced damage received buff he gets for switching into the battlefield. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that makes him, I have him as number 3 on the list. I think that's one of the reasons why he's so high on the list. Sure, he's squishy at low stars, but he gets a lot better defensively at high stars, making him probably the most annoying unit. I would agree that he's definitely the most annoying unit to deal with in terms of actually trying to take him out. I personally still just really hate fighting the androids. I think the green cards, like, the fact that you literally cannot do anything, like, to interrupt the combos, and you sit there and you have to take, like, the 50, 60, 70 hit combos, just annoying. I just don't enjoy the gameplay experience. It's not very interactive. But I would agree with this, definitely. Yeah, and in the comments, he's not as fragile as the purple one. Definitely isn't better than Ultra Gogeta, but the meta is the reason his top 3 here and a good kit. Maybe. It's actually close, right? I mean, I think Ultra Super Vegito being yellow definitely helps put him at that top spot, because I literally see Ultra Super Vegito probably 85 to 90% of the time when I queue up. So the presence of such a strong yellow character definitely helps move this UI Goku up the list, I think. In terms of just who's straight up better, UI Goku or Gogeta, they're actually so different that I don't really know if I would want to directly compare them. And by the way, I'll just mention this right now because look, this is an important thing to note. I don't even know if I should be saying this, but I don't really enjoy making tier list videos. I think tier list videos, or I think tier lists in general in a game like this, where everything is updating so frequently and so constantly, aren't really, honestly, that effective in really describing like which units are better than other units. That's why I like to always describe these top 10 unit videos as more so meta snapshots, as opposed to, okay, Unit 5 is better than Unit 6, or Unit 4 is better than Unit 5. I think that's just like a stupid way of classifying like the units and who's better than who. Because at any given point, you can receive a buff for your team. Like, for example, Regen gets like some ridiculously busted LF unit or some ridiculously busted Ultra character, and all of a sudden you have a situation where you can bump up a lot of these Regen characters. You know, Purple Cell, potentially LF Kid Buu coming back into the meta with his unique equipment. Anything can happen at any point, and that drastically changes the landscape of the game. And so I think, you know, just as somebody who doesn't really like placing units in a certain bucket, I don't know. I do these videos because people really request them a lot, number one. And to be completely honest with you guys, I do these videos because they do well on YouTube, number two. That's just the honest truth behind this. I don't particularly enjoy making these videos. But I think I do enjoy talking about the game, and I do enjoy making content on you know, theoretical things about the game. Like, okay, yeah, this unit could be better than this unit in this situation. So it's not like I genuinely like hate making these videos. It's not the main reason why. I'm not mainly making these videos because I'm the tier list god. Like, what I say goes. Like, that's not the reason why. It's really not. I can make we're getting a banner this weekend. With the TN and the Buhan, they could completely change the landscape of the game. And you know, the tier list I come out with next week, I'm not going to do one next week, but if I made a tier list next week, the top 10 could be drastically different depending on how they affect the meta. So we'll see. Even with only 7 stars, Zenkai 7 1400%, Vegito Blue is great. Not always doing the craziest damage, not tanking the best, but he's consistent and great. He became my favorite unit overnight once I Zenkai'd him. Yeah, he's very good. And the funny thing about that Vegito Blue is they actually didn't change much about him, right? They gave him like very, very minimal buffs with his new unique abilities, which is honestly fine, because I mean, you guys know this by now. We've actually had 2 instances of this recently. The green Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and this LF Vegito Blue. They both received fairly minimal updates and fairly minimal changes with their kits post-Zenkai as compared to pre-Zenkai. But even so, they were still able to make a sizable impact on the meta when they both received their Zenkai Awakening. So I think with these LF characters specifically, they already had pretty decent kits beforehand. So the fact that they didn't then go ahead and like, you know, let's give them like a billion% more damage and like all this stuff, I'm actually very happy they didn't do that, because if they did, you know, we're back in the land of Red Gohan, where he got his Zenkai and everything just became obsolete. I would much rather have this, where they're a competitive option, and they're definitely like a character you could always include on the team if you want to, but they're not like breaking the game and they're not like dominating the meta. I think that's definitely the way to go here. I'd put androids above Vegeta, but he's definitely number 2. You addressed them being interchangeable already, so I don't really have any complaints. Yeah, again, I think if you guys feel that the androids are better, I wouldn't really have anything to say about that. I would say that's a fine, you know, logical opinion to have. It's again, this is my opinion. This is based off of my experience. This is the list that I feel is most appropriate. And obviously, my experience playing the game is going to be different than your guys' experience playing the game. If you have a way more difficult time dealing with the androids than Vegito, then obviously you're going to put the androids above Vegito. I'm just telling you that in my experience, I think both in using the characters and fighting the characters, I have a much more difficult time fighting Vegito, and I have a much more easy time using Vegito. Well, not much more, again, they're pretty interchangeable, but a slightly better experience using Vegito over the androids. And I feel like when I'm fighting against the units, I feel like I have a lot more things to worry about when fighting Vegito as I do as opposed to the androids. But it's situational, right? There's definitely situations where, you know, if the androids are on the red purple team with Whis, they have the extra green card, they can really just be so annoying. Again, they're just so annoying. More than anything, I just think they're so annoying to fight against. That's really it. All right, let's see what this guy's comment is. For real, like, this tier list is not of teams, it's of a particular unit. So if Rush ranked them as number 2, then it may be because of the teams, but they don't need anything like that. I just wanted to do a 14-star showcase of the droids and see how they destroy everything even without the boost. I finally reached rank 4K for the first time. It's all because of the 4-star androids. I recently pulled them and I gave them... Oops. Uh-oh. We just rolled up a little bit. Gave them all the Z power and all. They just shred the units with high stars as well. What else is there to say? I mean, again, yeah, it's a valid point. But I think the exact same thing could be said about Vegito, so... even if you don't think UI is the best unit in the game, he's by far the most annoying. When facing the androids, at least you get to play the game, even if you're being comboed for most of the match. With UI, you just have to wait at the gauge or risk going for a tackle or taps. I already hated passive gameplay, and this unit is abusive. It abuses it to the max. I see that as well. I see a lot of people complaining about that as well. And this is actually a point that I brought up. I believe it was the video where I talked about potential massive update coming out, and because I really want a change in the battle system. I think the biggest flaw in this game is how rewarding it is to play very overly passive right now. And not even just right now, like it has been that way for a very, very long time. And they release a character like UI Goku, like this red UI Goku, and he heavily promotes this overly passive gameplay, right? So I don't know if they don't view the passive gameplay issue as being that like bad of an issue for the game right now, because you would think that if they thought it was a problem, they probably wouldn't implement a character like this that like is so not reliant on being passive, but benefits from playing passively so much as UI Goku does. So it'll be interesting to see how they change that issue, or if they even really think it's an issue at all. But I agree. UI is very annoying to fight against. He might not be the best, but he's sure as hell hard to take down, I think. I think I mentioned this in the video itself, but I think I said UI Goku is probably the most annoying character in the game to kill. And I think I would stand by that statement. What about the Ultimate Warrior Chow Man? I don't know. I don't know how many of you guys remember this, but if you guys were playing during the 2nd year anniversary, they actually introduced a unique equipment, a Awaken equipment specifically for the purple EX Chaozu. And I did a live stream on YouTube, and it was to show off that EX Chaozu with the Awaken equipment. And I think I lost every single match that I played with it. It was stupid. I still think the droids are still the best in the game. 17's green card is crazy good. Their damage is insane. The healing is constant and very reliable, and they can basically counter Ultra Super Vegito, Super Gogeta, and UI alone. You can argue Ultra Super Vegito and Super Gogeta together can counter them, but that's 2 units versus 1. Super Vegeta is closer to Ultra Super Gogeta IMO. Super Vegeta's counter isn't really that great. It consumes the whole gauge for 1 counter. Endurance, while it's good, most of the top units have endurance nullification. Do they? Most? I don't know if, on their ultimate, sure, but I don't know if most do, right? We have, Gogeta, who does it once he uses his ultimate, and then we have the androids. Who else really does that as a top unit? Like, full power Frieza, I guess you could sort of throw him in there. That's it, right? Unless I'm forgetting something. I think that, yeah. I wouldn't say most. While Vegito's damage is good, it ain't oppressive as Gogeta. Vegito can definitely put out as much damage as Gogeta, in my experience, for sure, while being much tankier. Gogeta can lock in, which is a huge benefit in a match, or to get a quick combo started or just Rising Rush. Yeah, the lock-in is definitely still very annoying, but I found that, at least in my match experience, I'm fighting, again, the top players in Japan. Everyone's really, really good at the game. Everyone has very, very high-starred units. If you're fighting a player that is using Ultra Super Gogeta, most people have the awareness to not kill a character and then have Gogeta switch in while you don't have Vanish, right? unless you have to. So if you're going to be rushing a character, you're most likely going to be switching and rushing, so you have access to another Vanish before Gogeta comes in. And if you're Gogeta and you're locking somebody in that has Vanish, it's going to be much harder to gain priority within that 5-second window, right? So the lock-in is definitely still really good. I'm not going to deny that. The type neutral is still really good, obviously, but there's definitely ways to play around it. And at the high level of play, people are going to be playing around it most of the time. Plus, Gogeta's blue card is arguably better. That's, yeah, I mean, it's situational, but I would say most often than not, I think I do like Gogeta's blue card better than Vegito's. That's true. Hand destroying effect is often undervalued, but it's a very annoying mechanic. So the top 5 would be Droids, Ultra Super Gogeta, Super Vegito, UI, Super Saiyan 3. That's a respectable list. I wouldn't really argue against that. I think that's a fine placement as well. What do you guys think are the chances that one of the first 3 Ultra units gets a Zenkai? Are you talking about the free-to-play units, the Goku, Vegeta, and the Omega? First of all, Omega doesn't even have his unique equipment yet, right? Because if you guys remember, they gave a unique equipment to the Namek Goku and the Namek Vegeta, but Omega doesn't have his yet. So I think before they give him a Zenkai, they would definitely give him a unique equipment. In terms of when they would get Zenkais, I really don't see that happening yet. I just don't. A Zenkai Ultra unit definitely sounds interesting, though. So, I mean, it'll happen eventually, right? It's not like it's never going to happen, but I just think it's a bit early. All right. I think my biggest issue with the list would be how high Hero Tapion is. I would seriously put him above Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken or Revival Frieza. The general value provides through a support damage he can dish out, and in some instances, the way he can turn entire games around in your favor through his final counter are genuine make-or-break assets, and less replaceable than what Revive Frieza or Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken can do. Not to mention, unlike Revival Frieza, let me just open this. His death, let me see. His death offers free damage without any penalties from enemy passives. Yeah, again, I think Tapion's very, very good. In my experience, again, when I was grinding for God Rank in the prior few seasons, I guess, Tapion wasn't really as scary to me as a lot of the other units on this list. Like, people, I think one of the biggest points of contention on the list was definitely putting Cell, the purple Cell, above Tapion. And I could definitely understand that. Number one, right? The presence of Super Vegito has heavily crippled Cell, obviously him being purple. And then also Tapion, right? Tapion himself being a yellow character. So we got 2 really strong yellow units released during the anniversary, which obviously Cell's not going to do as well against. But Cell is still super, super good. And if you wanted to put Tapion as 7 on the list, I could definitely see it. I think that's the highest I would personally put him. So it would go Cell as 10, Revival Frieza. No. Yeah, it would go Cell as 10, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku as 9, Revival Frieza as 7, and Tapion. No. What am I talking about? Sorry. Perfect Cell 10, Super Saiyan Blue, Ultra Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku 9, Revival Frieza at 8, and then Tapion at 7. I think that's the lowest on the list, lowest being closer to 1, that I would put Tapion. I think he could fit in there. So if you want to put Tapion there, I wouldn't really argue against that. I think that's a fine placement for him. I don't know if I'd put him above Angel Golden Frieza at 6. I think Angel Golden Frieza is just too strong to put Tapion above him. And I would definitely not put him in the top 5. The top 5 is pretty solidified, I think. Dragon Fist, UI Goku, Gogeta, the androids, and Super Vegito. I think those 5 are a decent cut above the rest of the list. So I think I would hold those together. And if you want to put Tapion at 7 above those first 3 characters, I'm okay with that. The 2 new Gokus and the Ultra Fusions are legit nearly equal to one another in terms of meta relevancy and power when they're 14 stars and paired in their best teams. The 2 new Gokus being UI Goku and Dragon Fist, and the Ultra Fusions being obviously Gogeta and Vegito. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's a fair statement, right? I think comparing like UI Goku to Dragon Fist is kind of a strange comparison to make because they're so different. Like, this is another reason why I really don't like doing tier lists like this, where you're sort of comparing each unit 1-to-1. It's like, which unit is better? Is it you know, I remember doing a list like this when during Legends Festival, when like Gowasu and not Gowasu, when Zamasu and Goku Black released. Right? Is Zamasu and Goku Black better than Ultra Super Vegeta? It's like, they're literally completely different units. They're fulfilling different roles. They're not even close to the same. So, I don't know. Comparing UI Goku to someone like Dragon Fist, obviously, I think in a head-to-head competition, I would personally take UI Goku over Dragon Fist. But Dragon Fist is just a pure damage dealing character. He's not meant to be tanking. He's not meant to be providing that much utility to the team. Whereas UI Goku is able to provide utility, damage. He can defend pretty. Like, he's doing more things than Dragon Fist. But Dragon Fist definitely does way more damage than UI Goku for sure. So in terms of comparing them on a one-to-one comparison, I mean, it's just you're kind of comparing apples to oranges in a way, right? And I think if the meta shifts continuously, like how fast it's been shifting, the meta, like you will want to prioritize one or the other. Like, okay, do you really want damage really badly in this meta, or would you rather take the utility and consistency that UI provides? So in that instance, it's going to depend on the meta, which again is another reason why I like to think of these lists as a meta snapshot as opposed to just like a straight up who's better, right? All right, next we have, okay, so we again references a timestamp here. Does it mean that Strike and Blast damage also amplify the ult? Oh, he's talking about UI Goku. Yeah, so UI Goku, let me actually see if I can pull this up real quick so I can show you guys what he's talking about here. I always like to have a visual guide here. Okay, so UI Goku, I think I was referencing his Strike and Blast starts. Yeah, so these effects. So this guy's saying, does it mean that Strike and Blast damage also amplify the ultimate? Like, can you see the ultimate damage difference based on the stars while in the stats? The level is still the same despite on how many stars you get them. So what I was just trying to say was you can stack up extra buffs from using Blast and Strike cards that have effects like this on them. To then, like, so for example, if you have, I specifically remember doing this play during when I was grinding for God Rank. If you have 4 Strike cards in your hand, you can spam without sidestepping, because again, you can pop the ult, you can pop the main and grab this effect, not to worry about cover changes. And because these effects only last for 5 timer counts, I remember specifically having a full hand of strikes, and I just spam clicked all 4 strikes at once to stack up the 20% damage 4 times, and then I pop my ultimate, which is going to help the ultimate damage be higher, right? That's what I'm talking about. I like how typically defense types are always treated poorly and don't last very long in the meta. Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta defense type. I think he means the new one that released alongside UI Goku. I definitely agree. A lot of times, the reason why defense types and sometimes even support types are handled wrongly is because for some reason they just gimp their stats, right? This is a really major issue, I think, with a lot of the EX characters that come out. If you have an EX character that comes out and they're a support character or they're a defensive type character, a lot of times they will not perform as well as you would think because their stats are just gimped because of the fact that they're a support or defense type character. But then you turn around and find that the best unit in the game is the defense type. I just thought it was funny and kind of ironic, yeah. I mean, he's a defense type, but he's a summonable ultra with like some of the best stats in the entire game. So, I mean, it's a different... I would say it's a bit of a an exception with Super Vegito, but in most cases, yeah, I would agree that that's usually how it goes. Hope they make a villain Ultra from now on, and hopefully Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo will be on Legends Festival. I think, yeah, if I had to pick a time for the superhero stuff to come out, I would definitely say Legends Festival seems most likely in my opinion. For me, the droids are undoubtedly top 1 in the game. Ultra Vegito is extremely good, but he only has that green card against cover changes, which makes him combo for not as long as you would want him to be. On the other hand, the android is still broken as they literally do anything such as removing Vanish, nullifying Endurance just by existing. They have an OP green card, etc., but that's just my opinion. I mean, again, I agree with you. I think the androids are just ridiculous, but the one thing I will say about Vegito is Vegito is definitely way more skill reliant than the androids. Being able to know when to drop combo, when the risk is at its lowest point, knowing when to use the blast counter unique gauge mechanic. If you are able to use Vegito well, he has so many. I think he has more tools in his kit than the androids do. The androids just are a more I don't want to say the androids are more of a brain dead unit than Vegito is, but there's not as many decisions that you have to make when using the androids as you do when using Vegito, right? Do I drop the combo here? Do I drop for the green card? Do I switch into Vegito to try and get the cover with the green card? What's the risk of going for the counter right now as opposed to holding onto it for later? Do I use my main right now to try and get the kill, whereas I can wait later and get my advantage back with it? I think there's just way more different scenarios that Vegito can excel in and turn the tide of the fight more than the androids can. And that for me pushes him above the androids, I think, at least in my experience. But the androids just, Vegito's not matching the androids' just annoying combo potential. Well, not combo potential, but just like the ability to nullify cover change is the one thing that I think puts the androids, if you want to argue for them, above Vegito. And definitely 18's green card as well. The ability to remove that vanish. Like if you have a situation where you tackle, right, and the enemy has no, you tackle, the enemy counters your tackle with a strike card, you vanish. You can go into 18, press the green card. That's a guaranteed combo, guaranteed rising rush, pretty much a guaranteed kill on a character, plus you're nullifying endurance. So it's completely dependent on the situation. Again, I would argue you could put Vegito number 1, you could put the androids at number 1. It's so close. If you want to say androids at number 1, I'm okay with that. My personal experience, I've had a much, well, not much, again, I don't want to say much. I've had a slightly better experience, more slightly positive experience using Vegito, and also I found myself in a bit of a more difficult situation fighting against Vegitos than I have against the androids. All right, let's keep going here. It's kind of sad that Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta kind of fell off. I want him back in the meta. He was the most fun to use. Yes, but keep in mind that just because he's not on the list doesn't mean he's bad, right? Fusion Warriors got a massive buff with the addition of Ultra Vegito. And with that being said, guess who that also helps out is Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So if, you are a big Gogeta fan and you like using Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, he is by no means completely dead in the water. You could definitely throw Gogeta on a Fusion Warrior team. You could definitely throw him on a GT team, although I think GT definitely needs help at this point. But for Fusion Warriors, you could definitely throw him on a Fusion Warrior team and use him alongside both the Ultra Fusions, Gogeta and Vegito, and he will perform very, very well. He still has access to the 2-time combo special cover change regarding blasts or strikes, which is definitely very, very useful. I think his blue card damage is still really, really good. And on top of that, he's actually still able to eat rising rushes with his additional damage cut active from some characters, right? If the androids are rising rushing you, you're probably just dead. But if you're at full HP, you haven't been touched yet, you still have access to that damage cut. I think he's still able to take some pretty, pretty sizable rising rushes and not die, which is still pretty impressive considering how old he is, right? He's a full year old. Eventually, power creep's going to catch up with you. And I think specifically when you take a look at the level of power creep, right? So between the 2nd year anniversary and the 3rd year anniversary, and between the 3rd year anniversary and the 4th year anniversary, the power creep between the 3rd and 4th year anniversaries is like twice as much as the power creep between the 2nd and 3rd year anniversaries. I would definitely say that they've ramped it up a lot. So to see him still being able to be somewhat competitive is actually pretty impressive, I'd say. All right, let's keep going here. I'm not going to go on for too long. I don't want this video to be an hour long. I will say I'm a little bit biased towards the androids, and I do think instead of giving Fusion Warriors another buff, they should have given the buff to other teams. I agree. I mean, again, I put out a video speculating it could be Buhan instead of Vegito. I was kind of not even believing myself when I was saying that, though, because for an anniversary, you're going to release an Ultra Buhan over Vegito. No, that's not going to happen. But I think for the health of the game, for the purposes of the game's environment, I would have liked to see a buff for regen, something else, like something that's not Fusion Warriors or Saiyans or movies or any of these teams that constantly get buffs. And another thing, the feature boost doesn't really help when ranking these units, something that shouldn't exist in the way it does, but there's nothing that can be done about it either. I mean, yeah, I'm just judging the units off of my experience, which includes the feature boost, so that's just the way it is. Okay. Tag droids are 100% number 1 in my opinion. Infinite combos, healing, nullify endurance all the time, and ignore cover changes. Always a nuisance to fight. Yeah. Again, if you want to say that, I'm not against it at all. I respect that opinion for sure. All right, until 5th anniversary. Okay, so this. When did I say this? Until 5th? I think that was for Super Vegito. I was like, yeah, I would. I think the exact word. You guys can go and check. I'm not going to go back and check right now, but I think the exact wording that I said regarding this was, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy didn't fall off until the 5th anniversary. By fall off, I don't mean he's going to remain at the #1 spot until the 5th anniversary. I just mean he's going to be relevant until the 5th anniversary. Don't forget what you said about Vegeta Blue. The game should have taken until 5th anniversary to surpass him, but it happened only months afterward of his first release. Talking about the 2nd year anniversary of Vegeta Blue. Okay. Thank you. Or sorry, finally a tier list that actually reflects the actual meta situation. Yeah, again, I hate making like, okay, this unit's better than this, or this unit's better than this. It's just right now, these are the units that I feel are most effective. Where is Raspberry? I honestly think his damage output is absolutely crazy as an EX red unit. Yeah, it actually was pretty good, I agree. Also found out that he's very good for dealing with Ultra Vegeta. Yeah, I mean, I think in the video, that I made with the team, he actually was able to do some pretty good damage against Vegeta, and obviously red beats yellow, but, you know, as a character you see in 80 to 90% of the matches, having a character like that is actually not the worst. Yes, I'm trolling, but he's still really good if you put him in the with his EX friends, and his defense ain't too bad. I agree. Yeah, I think they actually did a pretty good job with the Raspberry team for sure. They're definitely better than the Cybermen. It's not even close. And I would say that they're probably better than the a pool squad minus Rowberry. Rowberry was very, very good. All right, let's see. I think, let me just make this expanded first. Okay, let's see. I think this is the first time in Legends history that top 5 units depend on people's opinion and no one actually dominating the whole game, like FSK Team Vegeta Blue. It's definitely not the first time, but times like this where you can actually sit down and then think about like, this unit is not the undisputed #1 character. I think that's really good for the game. So I think the game actually is not in a bad spot right now. What's cool about this meta is that the top 5 units need another unit to compete with them. Ultra Super Vegeta, Ultra Super Gogeta need to be together in order to take completely down the androids. Yeah, I mean, they obviously would perform way better together, so I do like that as well. Androids and UI Goku need Whis for more green cards, yep. Raikou, so yeah. Dragon Fist Goku needs Tapion to make his combos longer since both of their greens restore a bunch of ki. Yeah, I think Tapion, the big reason why Tapion is so good is because Tapion works so well and he makes Dragon Fist look so good. Tapion, of course, being green, covers Dragon Fist's weakness to purple, and Tapion provides the not only the strike support when he switches out and from his main ability, but also he provides the extra card. The extra card is actually probably the most important thing that he provides to Dragon Fist, because obviously Dragon Fist really just wants, for the first, I would say, 50 counts of the match, your goal with Dragon Fist is to just fill up his unique gauge, and the more cards you have, the easier it's going to be to fill that unique gauge up. So I think that's a really good thing that they gave to Tapion to help out Dragon Fist. But still, in my opinion, Droid's still #1. Ultra Super Vegeta was so good with that 2 new equipment, but he still had PvP boost, and that makes him do crazy damage. Kind of need to see him without boost. In my opinion, Droid's still the most perfect unit in the game, along with red, red, purple setup and blue, blue, yellow fusions. The only ones who can compete with them. This is only my opinion. We live on balanced meta. Yeah, again, I'm not gonna. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but people are commenting about this a lot. So again, I'm not really going to argue against that opinion. I think it's a valid opinion to have. All right, next. You should do gameplay footage of each character while talking about them. It makes the video more informative, entertaining. Yeah, I'll probably try and do that next time. Great list. Love to see my boy Tapion getting some respect. Yeah, Tapion's really good. I mean, again, if you want to put Tapion as high as 7 on the list, I would definitely not really argue against that. He's that good for sure. 17 and 18 is #1. They're just insane. They can easily beat every other unit in the game. Not wrong. I think Ultra Super Gogeta should be higher than UI because the androids and UI are in basically every single match, and the fact that Ultra Gogeta can have at least 1 red unit to counter every single match makes him better than UI in my opinion. Obviously Ultra Super Vegeta was in a lot of matches too, but I just feel like a red unit doesn't have as much value against Ultra Super Vegeta as any other yellow unit, because Super Vegeta can go type neutral a lot with his green card and his ult. So although UI might have type advantage a lot while attacking him, he won't have type advantage while tanking his combos a lot of the times. This comment is coming from someone who runs blue, blue, yellow fusions with the 2 ultras and Vegeta Blue, so maybe I'm downplaying how devastating the androids can be with the switch. So yeah, this is obviously going to come down to your experience being different than my experience. In my experience, again, in the Japanese meta, I found that red, red, purple team is actually pretty uncommon. Obviously, I've fought it a few times, but during, again, like the last like 2-3 day stretch of people really trying their best and their hardest with their best teams to grind for God rank, most people were using the team that I was using, which was UI Goku, Dragon Fist, and Super Vegito. Those are the 3 characters I saw the most, even more than Ultra Gogeta. I would say Ultra Gogeta, among the top 5 units that I ranked in this video, definitely the lowest used unit easily that I fought in that spree of trying to go for God rank. The androids, Super Vegito, Dragon Fist, and UI Goku, I think were all used way more than the Gogeta was. Gogeta I almost ran into almost never in any of those matches. Now that doesn't mean I think he's worse than those other 4 units, but I think that just goes to show that my experience is definitely going to be a lot different than your guys' experience because of the different, teams I'm fighting and just the geographical location, stuff like that. All right, next. We'll go for a few more here. Okay, here we go. For me, I honestly don't even think it's a close between the droids and anyone else. The droids do way more damage than anyone else, and defensively, they're one of the better units, though most units can't tank these days. They have the best green cards, do infinite combos, they ramp up, it's stupid, they destroy Dragon Balls, they do way too much. I think Ultra Super Gogeta and Ultra Super Vegito and UI are pretty close and interchangeable because they're all really good. They all have really good strengths, but their strengths are so different to each other, so I feel that's more of a preference with those 3. I think Cell is 6th, his damage is top 2 to 3, and PO with Cell, Droids, and Tapion is top 3 to 5 team. Dragon Fist still nuts as well. The top is really strong, but below the top 10, 20, it's a big drop off. Also, I wouldn't put Revive Frieza or Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken in top 10 because Revive Frieza, I think Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, and right now Vegito Blue have more value. And for Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, he's not core on God Key because the best God Key team doesn't need him, and USS ain't great individually. He's great, but he's not in a great spot. Okay, so there's a lot to... I'm not going to go through every single thing you commented on this video, but I will say that you made a good point that I definitely agree with, and it's one of the reasons why I would put Vegito at number 1 or 2. Most units can't tank these days. Do you know which unit can tank fine? It's Vegito. And I have actually had situations where my Super Vegito has lived a Rising Rush from LF 17 and 18 while he was switched into 17. He's survived Rising Rushes. So I think when you're talking about like units not being able to tank, that's what puts Vegito at that different level when compared to like almost the entire rest of the game. He's actually one of the only units that's able to sit there and take hits from pretty much every character in the game, regardless of what color they are, right? Even if he's not type neutral, he can eat hits from a lot of red characters. He can pretty much, at least in my experience, almost always survive a Rising Rush if he has close to full HP. And again, I think that's what sets him apart from most of the other characters in this game. So I don't think it's as... The gap that you mentioned here, I don't think it's even close between the droids and anyone else. I would have agreed with you on the previous list that I made, right? Before Dragon Fist, before Tapion, before Vegito. I think UI Goku is good. He's definitely in that same discussion. But yeah, the droids were definitely head and shoulders above the rest of the game back then. Right now, I think it's a bit of a different story. All right, we'll do 1 or 2 more here. Let's see. All right, you are wrong. Yellow Turles is the definitive best unit in the game. No other unit comes close to the buff he gets on his ult makes him supreme. I mean, if you technically take a look at Yellow Turles' ult, he has to get the biggest buff in the game on his ult. But just because he's like actually unusable before he uses his ult, it's funny. Yeah, no, all right. I think everyone knew that the androids weren't going to be number 1, otherwise there wouldn't be a reason to make another list so soon. I disagree, but I do believe that people heavily underestimate Ultra Vegito. He's clearly the second best unit in the game, but people will insist otherwise. I think just because there's been enough big units released since the other list. I mean, we've had two big banners, right? Ultra Super Gogeta and Dragon Fist. Even if the androids were still 1, I probably still would have made this list just because I think there's been enough of a shift in the top part of the meta to warrant another list like this. But yeah, I see where you're coming from. Exactly. I feel like some people are just biased towards Gogeta when they argue he's better. Gogeta does almost nothing better than Vegito and just doesn't dominate matches anymore like Vegito does. Vegeta is far better than Gogeta, and it isn't really that close. Okay, so I will agree with some parts of this, but I'll disagree with other parts of this. Gogeta does almost nothing better than Vegito. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, because Gogeta's locking capabilities still, I think, in fact, I think I mentioned this when he released initially back during December of 2021. I specifically think I said that is what's going to make him age very, very well. And I think it has. Like that, again, you can play around that for sure, but him forcing you to play around that ability itself is already pretty good. Type neutrality is very good. His blue card is very good. I think those are the things that are what make him up, like those are the things that he does a bit better than Vegito. But I would agree with this. He does not dominate, at least in my experience. Right? I've obviously extensively used both units. I've fought against both units. To me, he definitely does not dominate matches like Gogeta does. In my experience, that's not how it goes at all. All right, we'll do one more. Ultra Gogeta is like number 2 for me because he's easy to use. He can basically win. Yeah, I mean that's something else to mention as well. I think Ultra Gogeta on this list, among the characters on this list, I would definitely say he's probably the easiest to use on this list, period. There's not really much you have to think about when using him, as opposed to somebody like Super Vegeta who has like 50 million different, like he has like think of like a Swiss Army knife. He has like 50 million things you could like push out from the knife, and like different tools and stuff that you can use. Whereas Gogeta is just like a giant knife, like a giant kitchen knife or machete. Gogeta is literally just a giant machete, but Super Vegeta is like a Swiss Army knife with like a bunch of different little instruments on it you can use. That's the best analogy I can really make there. All right, this will be the final one. Remember, characters with permanent anti-endurance gets treated poorly with their offense and defense stats. Well, androids were the big difference, because if you guys take a look at LF for Power Frieza and LF Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, they have like poor offense and defense stats. Like they're just supporting the team while not doing too much damage and not tanking much at all. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, because the androids definitely do way more damage than Full Power Frieza and Rose do. But when Full Power Frieza like was in his prime, he was doing a lot. Like his blue card was one-shotting entire teams almost. And I think Rose definitely was pretty underrated when he first came out. I think at this point, Rose is actually one of the characters that deserves the unique equipment the most. So I'm actually pretty excited to see if they give him one. But you're comparing, like, these are different era units, right? Full Power Frieza came out a full year ago. Rose came out a year and a half ago. The androids came out, what, 3 months ago? Yeah, I think like three and a half months ago, something like that. But yeah, the androids are on a different level compared to those units, even during their respective like release times. So I don't know if this is a really good comparison to make here, but I see what you're saying. All right, so that's really gonna wrap this one up here. I think I responded to a decent amount of comments. Let me know down below what you guys think of, again, this type of video. Do you guys want to see more of these? Do you guys not really care about these? Again, I'm just trying to be more interactive with you guys. I want to get you guys more involved with these videos as we move along. I'm going to be doing more of those fight reaction videos as well. Going to be trying to help you guys out with more instructional style videos as well. So I just want to, get you guys more involved and see what you guys want you guys to feel more valued. Don't want you guys just coming here. Okay, what's the showcase for today? Okay, what's the breakdown video for today? I wanna have you guys be more involved somehow. So that's really the goal here. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in the next one.